Evaluation 5. How do you attract and address your audiences? I'm going to start by talking about how I attracted and addressed my audience through my cover page. I think that my magazine cover attracts my audience on the basis that it has a moderately minimal layout with a quirky, colourful image which connotes the aura that my target audience has. My artist, Priya Downing, is located in the centre of the page, acting as the centre of visual interest, dressed in a very simple way with very minimal clothing and makeup. However, the filter that I've applied over the image makes it appear colourful and cool, which connotes the feature of other pop magazines, such as Clash. I believe that colour is a vital component used to attract my audience on the basis that it is something new and quirky, so their eyes will instantly be drawn to it. My target audience, as mentioned previously, is a younger, creative, stylish demographic that love modern things, which is why it's so vital that I add a spin to my cover so that it attracts this audience. Despite there being a new spin to my cover as a whole, I decided to keep my artist very minimalistic, as I believe that this is a style used in a lot of magazines, which would further attract my audience, as they would be familiar with this style and will instantly have a sense of recognition with my artist, despite her being an entirely new artist, on the basis that she looks like other pop and electropop artists. The bold white masthead used on my cover follows the conventions of other magazines such as Clash, who similarly use a simple white bold masthead simply located at the top of the page. The masthead also has the same prominence on the page as a trademark or brand name, acting as the centre of visual interest. So the masthead is a memorable feature evident on every issue and on every page of the magazine. This attracts the audience as it almost becomes memorable. The specific font used for my masthead is used to mirror a real neon light with interconnected lettering. I felt that this was necessary, as whilst the font replicated a neon light, which was the idea behind not only the font but the name of the magazine, but it's also a very contemporary typeface, befitting a magazine on contemporary popular music culture. The design of the typeface fills the entirety of the masthead area due to the use of all uppercase letters. The lack of ascending and descending lettering means that the masthead appears clean, filling all of the space. Whilst the font is bold and strong, it's similar to other magazines such as Clash and Vibe, which both leave sufficient space for creative photography behind the masthead, enabling the audience to see the entire image. I feel that this attracts the audience on the basis that it's an unusual font, not commonly used on a magazine, as it doesn't conform to the simple blocky lettering used in the majority of magazines on the market, which further attracts my audience, a demographic striving for new modern things. With the cover lines descending in importance, this means that my audience can easily pick out the important information and move directly to it, meaning that they will have an instant attraction to my stories inside that match the interest associated with the genre. I decided to make my first cover line my artist's name on the basis that it answers the initial questions running through the audience's mind as to who's that on the cover. This makes the cover more appealing as they don't have to question anything on the page. I also decided to have Priya's name in white on the basis that I wanted the text to stand out on top of the darker background, acting as a contrast to the image. However, it was my intentions to make the majority of the text the same colour so that the overall aesthetic was pleasing to both sexes and attracted my audience, which mainly is interested in stylistic value. Despite my masthead being located at the top of the page, I purposely made sure that my image was centre of visual interest, as I think that the contrast to the white masthead made it stand out much more. Because of the statement image and the descending cover lines, it meant that the audience looked over the entirety of the page, going from the centre to the top, down this page subconsciously. I also attracted and addressed my audience through my mid-shot. I made sure that my artist was looking directly into the lens of the camera so that the audience felt that she was looking personally to them, breaking the barrier between the reader and herself. This therefore creates a closer relationship between the two, causing the audience to be attracted easier due to iconography. My magazine isn't heavily influenced by any particular magazine. However, the layout of my cover is influenced by Clash magazine, as it is a popular magazine in the industry, despite it not being a magazine that caters to my genre. And by following the conventions of my page, my magazine is guaranteed to be a success. The next way in which I attracted and addressed my audience was through my contents page. I did a variety of things on my double contents page which attracted my target audience, the first being the detailed descriptions of what featured in my magazine. By being concise, the audience was able to personalise their reading as they could pick what interests them, as all of the information needed is located on the page. Also, with the synchronicity of featuring the masthead neon at the bottom of both of the contents pages, the reader had the ability to become more familiar with the new magazine, meaning that they'd become attracted to it at a quicker rate, increasing and guaranteeing success through word of mouth. Not only this, but the initial bright colour palette is repeated on both the cover and the contents. It's evident that a 3D effect has been used where I have laid a red image on top of a bright blue image. This effect not only attracts the audience's eye due to the bright colours, but this also shows a high level of professionalism and experience, as it shows that the magazine is cool and quirky, highlighting the smart style of the magazine. This would attract a larger audience, as the quirkiness would cater to a young, modern demographic. However, the evident professionalism would cater to an older audience that enjoy conventional magazines. My cover page wasn't particularly influenced by a specific magazine, as the look that I wanted to portray wasn't evident in any of the magazine contents. I decided upon a double contents page as I thought that it looked more pleasing to the eye, as the text didn't have to be squished onto one page and could be evenly spread across two. By having two pages, it also meant that a magazine image could bleed across on the entire page. Not only did bleeding the image to the edge of the page make it look more aesthetically pleasing, due to the page looking less sparse than, say, cropping the image into a box, but it's also a feature evident in quite a lot of magazine content such as Vibe. This adds familiarity to the magazine, making it more likely to be purchased, on the basis that today's generation likes to be able to predict what something's going to look like. Despite V Magazine being a lifestyle magazine and not a music magazine, I decided to use their use of a statement bold colour, as I love the quirky feeling that the magazine creates. This similarly attracts the audience's eye, as the bold colour stands out and guides the reader's eye to the image and the key words, highlighted in the same red colour used on the image. Not only does this make the key words stand out, enabling the reader to find the key information even easier, but the perfect colour match between the red tones is also aesthetically pleasing, attracting the reader's eyes directly as the stylistic value that most people enjoy. I decided to duplicate the text to create a red shadow to reinforce this 3D effect. This took the reader's eye across the page so that the entire contents worked almost as an image instead of separate text boxes, as all of the features worked together, making it nice to look at. To further portray this, I decided to make the numbers in the contents text appear like it's glitching, as I thought that this would make the page look quirkier. It also gave me a reason to include this perfectly matched red colour that is aesthetically pleasing to the audience. Another way of attracting the audience was through the disordered page numbers on the content page. This was a quirky way to attract the reader's attention on the basis that the numbers are one of the largest things on the page, therefore they're one of the first things that the reader sees, and because it's expected that numbers are ordered chronologically on the contents, it will attract the reader's attention. The final way in which I attracted and addressed my audiences was through my double page spreads. The first thing that I did in order to attract my audience is through my chosen images. Although it's evident that both of my images are of the same artist, Priya Downing, I decided to use two completely images in the sense of framing and mise-en-scène, with how she's dressed and how her makeup is done. One of the images used is a long shot of Priya sitting on a chair. By using this image, this attracts the audience through her quirky fashion sense, as the reader may look at her modern cool outfit and aspire to dress in that way, in order to follow the typical modern fashion trends that heavily influence my target audience. Not only does this attract the audience, but it also addresses my audience in the sense that they could look at a new famous artist and aspire to purchase the pieces of clothing she's wearing, or find replicas of what she's wearing. Due to fame being such an important thing for a young demographic, it's more likely that a younger demographic would purchase a designer brand if they knew somebody famous has it. Besides the clothing, I also attracted my audience through a long shot due to her specific makeup. I decided upon using big, bold statement makeup that made a point, as I thought that this quirky look instantly attracted the audience due to acting as one of the statement colours on the page. Although it's less likely that a younger demographic would wear big blue cat eye makeup. It could similarly act as a trend, attracting my target audience further. Another way of which I attracted my audience was through following the conventions of the O Comedy magazine, as this magazine allocates one of the pages of the double page spread entirely to an image, with the main feature on the other page. By bleeding the image to the end of the page, it adds a smoother and more modern look that appears to be more aesthetically pleasing to the reader's eye, which is the main reason why I chose to use this effect in order to attract my audience. I also did this through the feedback I got back from my draft. Despite the layout being slightly altered, it was evident that they preferred a more conventional look. The alterations meant that my double page spread was less cramped due to all of the contents being spread over 4 pages instead of 2, meaning that these pages had a more modern, cleaner look, meaning that my audience would be pleased with the recognisable layout and would be attracted to it. Even though A Comedy magazine isn't a music magazine, I still thought they had stylistic value that I wanted my magazine to include. So it was a valid piece of inspiration. By acting upon the feedback from my target audience had given about my draft, it would also address my audience, as not only are they seeing something that they'd picked out and therefore something that they think looks best, but they will also recognise that their opinion is important, making them want to purchase the magazine as they felt that they had a part of the creation. I decided to decrease the amount of white space by applying the same glitch-styled lettering in the 3D font I have included in my contents, almost linking both the pages together, making the magazine synchronised. This attracted the reader in a similar way, as not only did the letters spell Priya's name, providing a good visual image of the artist herself, but the 3D letters were also scattered across the entire double page, which took the reader's eye across the page so that the entire spread worked almost as an image instead of separate text boxes, as all of the features worked together, making it appealing to the audience. This effect was similarly done with the 3D image effect that was evident on all of the magazine pages, as it linked the text with the image. Furthermore, due to the fact that the image and the 3D text were the biggest thing on the page, they had a significant effect on the reader, as it was arguably the first thing they'd looked at. I repeated both these effects evident on the first spread onto the second spread, where I wrote Priya's last name down in. I chose to do this as I thought that this would further link the pages together. Another way of attracting my reader's attention was through the use of quotes. I decided to have a variety of quotes in my article. However, I made the rational decision to make the headline of my article a quote, as I thought that it would give the reader an insight into what the article would be about. This would instantly attract the audience, as not only would the slightly larger font initially draw their eyes to it, but it would also make them want to read on and find out more. I made another decision based on the feedback that I got back from my drafts, which put forward the variety of fonts on my spread. I thought that to further make my quote stand out, I would write it in the same impact font that was used on my cover, almost to link the pages together. The layout of my article was adapted after deciding that my feature looked far too cramped. I felt that the layout replicated a traditional newspaper, and it didn't fit the modern aura that I was trying to portray. And because of this, I decided to use a lot of negative space, on the basis that I felt that it would spread the article out a bit more, making it easy to read, but it would also make the page more quirky, as it didn't follow the conventions of a traditional magazine. I decided to embed a variety of different drop quotes into the article. However, through questioning my target audience, I decided that the quotes should all be written in a slightly different size, as it was apparent that my demographic liked to look at the quotes before reading the entire article, as it almost refined the article into a couple of phrases. As a way of emphasising my spread, I decided to highlight the feature and the image into a small black box, as I felt that it made the page look more conventional, however giving it a modern look that I desired. This instantly attracted the audience, as it almost framed the image and the feature, instantly drawing their eyes to the specific parts of the spread.